Hello everyone and welcome back to MRL. It is Misfits Racing League action and it is Tier 1, the Bahrain Grand Prix, and I am super excited, but of course with me as always, Mikcow. How you doing today, Mikcow?
Oh, I'm doing great, Striff, as always. It was a really intense race for Tier 2, so I wonder what the Tier 1 guys can put on for us this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be a very spicy race considering what we saw last week in Albert Park. Of course, taking a look at the the Bahrain circuit this week around. Moment here, dialed in. There you see it on screen. A lot of straights in this section of circuit, Bahrain. Gonna be very hard on tires, get them hot. But of course, tire wear here can be something else entirely, if you will. Vietnam next week as well. Bahrain this week. China round 4. The Dutch Grand Prix round 5. Spain round 6. Monaco round 7. Azerbaijan round 8. Canada round 9. France round 10. And Austria round 11 for the first half of this season. MRL Season 3 action. Now we move into the second leg. It is the British GP for round 12, Hungary round 13, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, Brazil, and of course Abu Dhabi. Take a look at the teams that are going to be lining up on the grid today as well. Mayo and Brainstew over at Mercedes, Alex Bitto and Hyper for Ferrari, Zamis and Swifty for Red Bull, Yoda and Rackety for McLaren. Remco Van Putten and BTFU for Renault, and I do believe BTFU and Zmayo may be absent today. Of course, BTFU dealing with some technical issues with his computer, waiting for a new one to come in. Shenjay and Freeware over at Alpha Tauri. Uber and Lutra for Racing Point. Nigel and Jean over at Alfa Romeo, and Henners and Astrodate for Haas. S. King and Custom for Williams. And, of course, with that, we have standings to go with these wonderful teams after the first round. And we're going to take a look at those in just a moment here as I'm just getting all of these wonderful things dialed in for you lovely viewers. And there it is. Nigel takes the win. As you can see there in the steward report, Nigel promoted to P1, Shenjay demoted to P2. And what was going on there was Nigel had a time penalty removed post-race. So he moved ahead of the provisional race winner, which was Shenjay. Now Nigel has been solidified into that position. Alex Bitto as well promoted to P7 with Swifty getting pushed back into P8 following some reviews. Now Nigel in first, Shenjay second, S. King the top 3 on the standings right now, and you can see there you have Alfa Romeo out front of Alpha Tauri right now for the constructors. Very good stuff. And with that being said, I think we're just about ready to jump back into racing action here, just waiting on a couple of last minute things.
Yeah, just getting all the drivers good to go. I believe we have everyone in who's supposed to be in, so we'll be starting any minute now.
Excellent stuff. Now, Bahrain, one of my favorite circuits, of course, and I do believe, Mikhail, you share that sentiment. I am beyond looking forward to what our Tier 1 racers can do around here. It was a very exciting race for Tier 2 just a short while ago now.
Yeah, Bahrain's one of those tracks where overtaking is fairly easy compared to some of the other circuits. There's a lot of straights. The DRS zones are quite long. There's 3 of them that are of significant length. And there's just many passing opportunities. You know, you put a long straight and then you have a hard braking zone. It's really easy to just try and outbrake the car in front to get past. So hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of overtakes this evening. Certainly was a whole lot of action in the Tier 2 race just gone by.
Definitely.
But I like the circuit quite a lot. But it's very harsh on the tires, especially those rears. Just a lot of heavy traction zones that could catch out quite a few drivers.
Oh yeah, big time here in Bahrain. We saw turn 12 claim a few drivers in Tier 2 as well. which is a place where a lot of these drivers, I think, learned from the last game release, F1 2019, to sort of avoid, if you will. And there we have the full grid. Neon Rays in as reserve for Zmayo today. And I believe we have Fraser from CFR in place of Mr. BTFU.
Yeah, we also have Black Sheep taking Jean's seat at Alfa Romeo. And we have the man himself, Mattia Binotto, in Williams this evening. So looks like I'm interested to see how Ferrari do on the strategy side of things with their team principal down at Williams. But no, it should be interesting as we have the first cars leaving the pit lane. I can see Brain Stew in that Mercedes garage taking off the tire blankets. And we've got to get some action out there on track there, Strifium.
Now, just like the first race of the evening, it is a Haas once again heading out of the pit lane. Not entirely sure who that is. I believe it is Henners over at Haas, heading out for the first lap of the session. Now, one thing I gotta say, Mikcow, about Bahrain, and this goes for a couple of tracks that we're gonna see on our calendar here in Season 3, is, and I'm sure you can appreciate my love and want for rain. And I find that when the weather is kind of clear-cut in Bahrain, it's nobody needs to really worry about a weather dynamic here, whereas they do at certain other circuits. And I feel like it takes a little bit of an element out of it, but at the same time, this is a very fast circuit. A lot of high overtaking opportunity corners. So it proves to be quite exciting regardless of the weather. And I'm hoping we see some very, very good driving today from Tier 1.
Yeah, well, the grid is very, very tightly packed, if you will. We saw that last round in Australia, and we saw it in the pre-season with our internal qualifying races. So I think, to everyone watching the stream, you're in for a really good show, as there is a lot of cars out there on the circuit, all but 3, I believe. But it will be Henners in the Haas, making his way out of the final corner to start his first flying lap.
And down into first turn here. Down into first he goes. Up through turns 2 and 3. DRS wide open. Mikcow heading down into turn 4.
He's just trying to spot that 100-meter board, that braking point. He really seems to be using the gears to try and get that rotation in the car. Something very, very potent in last year's game. Not as much as in this in 2020, but nonetheless, seems to be getting that Haas around at a fairly high pace through the hard double left downhill turns of 9 and 10. Keeping it nice and tidy so far as he makes his way towards turn 11. Rushing that inside curve as well as the outside curve, using all the tarmac available. Does well to avoid that inside curve at turn 12. We saw a lot of drivers in Tier 2 struggle with that curve, either trying to go side by side up through that fast S section or just tapping the inside and spinaling around. But into the final 2 corners he goes. DRS open. He runs out of deployment, interestingly enough, but it'll be a 126.074 as the first time on the board.
Fraser in the Renault jumping ahead of him. A 125.6 is the provisional pole time now. Mattia Binotto for Williams, a 127.1, as Swifty for Red Bull, a 126.243 comes across the line. And those are your four first times set here in Bahrain. As
Aphrodite next.
Yeah.
Aphrodite making his way through the final corner now. Let's see if he can get anywhere close to his teammate. And he does. He goes 300ths faster with a 126.04. And Nigel behind him comes across the line with a 25.9. And Alex Bitto goes fastest, a whole 5/10 faster than Fraser, as all the time seem to be coming in at this stage.
Benjay now P2 in the AlphaTauri. We saw him take pole position last week out in Australia, as well as the win on circuit. But of course, time penalties coming down the chain put Nigel in that winning slot. But of course, very quick nonetheless in that AlphaTauri. Going to be looking for a serious performance here. Shenjay last week went on to win a multitude of league races in Australia, so he has shown very clear dominance throughout the league community. And, well, his name is going to be echoed through for some time to come, I think, here in this release. As, well, that guy that just sticks the car out in front of everybody else, I suppose. I don't know, Black Sheep. As well in the AlphaTauri, or excuse me, Alfa Romeo is driving today. Now, I believe he's a reserve for, it's escaping me. For Jean. Yes, thank you very much for that.
No worries, Strifium. Always happy to help.
A lot of drivers setting times here. The grid is starting to bunch up as far as the times go as well. Gap to leader right now from 10th to 1st, 1 second on the clock.
Yeah, interesting that a lot of these drivers are opting for the soft tires straight out of the bag. I mean, I guess not having that hard set of tires for qualifying in this year's game is really forcing these drivers to, into the two-stop on those softs, because those softs are not going to last very long. They're only good for about 5 or 6 laps before they really start to hit the cliff. And the one stop between the mediums and the hards is definitely the preferred strategy. But all these drivers trying to get that track position, and will just take the race as it comes, it seems.
A lot of drivers on outlaps right now. Hyper, Neon Rays, S King, and Brainstew among them, as I had some audio issues this week. Not all of my settings are the same as they once were, so of course I had a wonderful Facebook notification that I did not care for. So we're back. Tia Bonotto on an outlap right now in the Williams, the only driver, I think. Let's see, who is the lead outlap racer? I think it is either Neon Rays or Brainstew, and it's going to be Brainstew. So on board, following around the Mercedes here, up through turn 12, as he's going to get set to start his first flyer of the session. 10 minutes remaining in quali as far as our clock can tell. Of course, there have been some timing glitches here throughout the, well, the release of this game, F1 2020. But Brainstew now gearing things down, getting set to go.
I'm just keeping my eye on Yoda here. He's currently on his flying lap, heading through turns 11 and 12 as we speak. Seems to be a pretty clean lap so far. Setting some decent sector times. No, definitely looking to be up there in that top 5 or 6 at least. But he has invalidated his lap at turn 13, I think. So, not the greatest start for the McLaren driver. Had a strong showing out last week in Australia, and he's definitely looking to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, for sure. He did have a good result there. As Brainstew comes up on some traffic, that was the Haas. Pulls off to the side. Coming down into turn 10 now is the Mercedes. Yet to set a time here in this session.
Well, he's matched Alex Bitto in Sector 1, so he's on for a pretty good lap so far. Of course, that purple Sector 1 still belonging to Shenjay in the AlphaTauri, currently in P2 and on another outlap. So we see most of the drivers actually going out for their second runs in the session. The second sector seems pretty competitive for the Mercedes, coming through the final 2 corners now. DRS open, runs out of deployment, and it will be P2 for Brainstew with the 1 minute 25.315.
Oh, and Neon Rays has had an issue out of the final turn here. He is off, trying to get off the circuit out of the way of the fast movers. Zamis moves ahead. Mattia Bonotto as well, as I do believe they're beginning laps.
Yeah, Zama's just starting his lap now, coming through turns 2 and 3. It's a very, very unfortunate result for the Red Bull. Not something we're used to seeing from him. Normally, a driver who's quite consistent with their results. So he's definitely looking to bounce back from that disappointing outing. He's improved by 3/10 in set to 1, so this should be a very, very solid lap time from the Red Bull, but whether it will put him where he wants to be on the grid is yet to be seen.
Yeah, and you can see right now the gap to leader is just being pushed further and further back into that second margin up this grid right now. Swifty, the first driver, is second away from our leader, and he is in 13th right now, so things extremely tight. Excuse me. Swifty is now in 10th. So, Fubar is the last driver, sub 1 second on the gap to leader at the moment. Very,
a lot
very
of
good
drivers
stuff.
out there on circuit at the moment. Seems like quite a few of them are coming back into the pits. I believe that was one of the Red Bulls coming across the line.
Zamis, 125.7 into 7th position.
Yeah, so that's a huge improvement from the Red Bull. A little bit more competitive. Still thinks he can probably find a little bit more time in that car, but with the grid so tight, Strifium, 1 or 2 tenths can be the difference between, well, as we see it now, 7th and 3rd.
Yeah. I just want to give a quick shout out to Mr. IGKENZ, who is the wonderful developer of our new telemetry in the chat. So, of course, everybody in the chat, if you are watching this, give him a good old PogChamp. Give him a salute, some kind of emote. Shout out to him. He's doing a great job. We're going to get him some socials and stuff like that so you can connect with him. Great system he's put together here for us to show telemetry and give you all in the chat some access to what's going on as far as penalties and things like this.
I do believe most drivers are on their in-laps at the moment. Yoda's still trying to set a lap time. Hasn't been able to this session as of yet, with just over 5 minutes remaining from our clock at least, and that will shoot him all the way up to P6 with that time of 125.58. So that's 500ths down on S King, and 300ths ahead of Fraser in the Renault behind him. You know it's a tight grid when you're comparing the times in terms of hundredths and not tenths.
Oh, most definitely. And right now, the gaps all the way down this grid are they're just massive. Absolutely, like, not. And when I say massive,
But not literally massive.
not literally, but what we're seeing here is wild. I think that's an even better. Like, it's just so competitive, Mikcow. 16th position right now is within 1 second of first. Okay, you know what I mean. And you have all this from 10th to first. It's 7 tenths. From 5th to first, it's less than 4 tenths. Things are tight. Very tight. Especially at the front of this grid. Shenji, 100th of a second behind. Very, very good.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane what these drivers are pulling out for us. You know, a tiny mistake in one corner on this final run yet to come could mean the difference between a front row and the 4th row. It's that tight, ladies and gentlemen.
MRL Hyper in the Ferrari now on softs. He set his time in the session on the medium so far. So here's another driver who is most definitely going to be looking to improve on the faster tire compounds.
He's up by just over a second at the moment. So not quite sure if it will be good enough to slingshot him all the way into that midfield, but we'll wait and see. It's very tidy final couple of turns. Able to get the power down nice and early. Up to the line. And he will stay last. The 127.2.
Just wasn't enough of an improvement but it looks like he's going again here.
He still has that Ferrari in hot lap mode, trying to extract all the performance that he can. He shows no signs of slowing down. A little bit of a lockup there coming into turn 4 though. See how his first sector split is, and he's up by 700ths. So it's an improvement, but I don't know if it will be enough to jump Black Sheep in 19th place.
Speaking of improvements, I believe that was King who just improved.
Yeah, you're right.
Jumping into 3rd position here, a 125.259. Wow. That front of this grid is just flying around this circuit.
Another one to keep your eye on at the moment is Aphrodite. I believe he's also on a lap in 15th place at the moment. Currently in that DRS zone heading towards turn 11. Seems to be having a nice clean lap at the moment. He's up 300ths. So provisionally that will shoot him all the way into that P8, P9 area. He's able to hold this lap together. So the clock starts to tick down. Just over a minute and a half remaining in this session. And yeah, as I was saying, Aphrodite slingshotting his way up to P8 with that last time. 500ths down on Fraser ahead of him. But I'm sure that's a solid lap time that he can be proud of for the Haas driver.
Well, that puts him within half a second of pole position, Mikcow, so I'm sure a lot of drivers aren't going to be too worried about their times here, considering how tight things are. The positions, really, when things are that tight, I mean, it's all about how the race start goes as well. Everybody going to be fixing to have a solid beginning of their race here in Bahrain. Of course, safety cars can play a role and shake things up completely. All drivers, one thing to note is nobody qualifying on those mediums. Everybody's going for soft runs. Nobody's even touching these mediums. The only one to do so was, why is it escaping me now?
It was Hyper, I believe.
It was Hyper.
Yeah, well, probably the mediums just aren't as viable of an option, especially in a grid that is as tight as this one. You know, might as well just not qualify and start at the back if you're going to try and qualify on mediums when everyone else on the grid is on softs. There's just too much of a pace gap between the two tire compounds, so I think that's the thought process that was going through the minds of the drivers, if you will.
Yeah, a couple retirements coming across your screens now. Those drivers, of course, are finished for this session. Not able to go out once again. A few of these drivers are going to be starting laps as well. Even though the ticker has clocked down, I think the timing glitch is going to allow them to start laps.
Yeah, the checkered flag hasn't dropped just yet for these drivers, thanks to Codemasters and their time desynchronization. So there's still a few seconds left in the session for the drivers. Lutra has now set a purple Sector 2 strip.
Well, we're just going to have to ride along with him as he comes out of the final turn now.
Comes across the line. It will be an improvement up into P3. 8 milliseconds faster than S-King in the Williams. Wow.
Quick. Very, very quick. Yoda has begun a flying lap as well as Shenjie, I believe, is on a flyer. So he'll be looking to improve on what is a very close second time here. As it looks like he's maybe not flying. Yeah, he has backed out. So Brain Stew is going to be the next to cross as Rackety has taken the checkered flag for the last time in this session. Well, he's lapped around the circuit for the last time as Brain Stew crossing the final turn now. And he improves.
Brain Stew jumping up into P3 now with a 125.22.
Fraser. An improvement from Fraser as well into 6th position. Are we going to see one from Yoda from 7th?
No, we will not.
Well, we did, but it just wasn't enough to get past Fraser. He improved by 2.5 tenths there, but he still stayed P7, which just tells you things are tight. So tight on this grid. Look at the gap right now. There is a second, ladies and gentlemen. MRL Tier 1 Season 3 action in Bahrain. There is, and you heard it here first, there is a second separating your drivers from first all the way through into 18th on this grid, and even then, 19th and 20th, Mattia Binotto and Hyper respectively, they're not even that far behind. So, this grid is going to be shockingly quick at the race start. Mikcow, I am beside myself with excitement. So, for all of you guys tuning in, I hope you are ready for a good one. If you have race predictions, let us hear them, and of course, share that stream around with your friends, because we are about to have a serious barn burner here for round 2 Bahrain action.
Love your use of alliteration there, Strifium. But I don't think you can even predict what's going to happen in this race. Literally anybody could win it at this stage, and all the drivers showing that they have the pace to do so.
Alex Bitto on pole position. Shenjay lining up next to him on the front row. Brainstew in third. Lutra fourth. That's S-King in fifth for Williams. Fraser in sixth. Yoda from the MRL McLaren squad over in seventh. Swifty in eighth. Nigel in ninth. And Astrodate rounding off your top 10 here in Bahrain. All drivers setting times on the soft compound tires. It's Zamis in 11th. Henry in 12th. Freeware 13th. Bois, Remco Van Putten in 14th, Neon Rays 15th, Rackety, Fubar, Black Sheep, Mattia Binotto, and Hyper bring up the rear. And I am beyond excited. And these racers, Zamis, he's in 11th, Mikcow. He took a P2 in Australia last week for ZOR, and I have to say, he was very fast. So to see him in P11, it just really speaks to, again, how bunched up and close this grid is going to be.
It's absolutely incredible, Striff. Absolutely incredible. I think I knew it was going to be tight, but I don't think anyone would have predicted it would be this tight between all of our drivers.
18
I think
positions.
having 18 drivers all within the second is just unheard of. Until you get to, even at the esports level, it's tight, but I don't think it's that tight.
I can't say I've seen that. All the way to 18th to be within a second. It is so quick. So quick. As the formation lap begins. Now, this is something that we saw in Tier 2 earlier this evening. Now, we had a full-blown split from 1st to 10th. Everybody was on soft compound tires. Now, we see something somewhat similar. In Tier 2, we had everybody from 11th down to 20th on mediums. Now, this is a little different in the sense that we have Mattia Binotto in 19th for Williams, starting on softs, Mikcow. Everybody else on the mediums, with the exception of Black Sheep in 18th. What do you think about tire strategies here coming through into this race?
Interesting choice that Mattia Binotto went for the soft compound tires. Definitely an omen to the real life F1, if you would call it that. But no, definitely is going to try and make a lot of positions off the start with just the extra grip and traction that those tires will provide. And Black Sheep trying to go long, it seems. Maybe hope for an early safety car, avoid the carnage, and then make some easy passes in the pits and be on the faster rubber at the end. Who knows?
Yeah.
Having everyone else on the mediums, though, is to be expected. That is the optimal strategy. Mediums to hards, just easy one stop. Don't have to worry about mistakes being made in the pit lane. And, of course, the top 10 starting on those soft compound tires that they qualified on.
Now you see Zamis here coming up through into turn 12 on this formation lap. This inside curbing where he's just carefully riding along. That inside curb on that right-hand side was, of course, the curb that I think statistically in the league races I've seen, Mikcow, has probably cost the most amount of racers. And so a lot of drivers are going to be looking to avoid that as Alex Bitto rounds the final couple turns here in Bahrain. Coming to the starting grid, Shenjay, of course, started pole position last week with Nigel, who is currently in 9th next to him on the front row. And it was Alex Bitto in the Ferrari who started 3rd, who put together that shocking moment when lights went out to split the front row into lead of the race. So it was a very nice start from him. Of course, we will be following along with this race start here in Bahrain. And to take us away, Mikcow, when these lights go on, my friend, it's all yours.
And we just see Hyper rounding up the grid now. 3, 4, 5 red lights. Ahead of the drivers here in Bahrain. We've got to wait for the timing desync as all the cars are revving their engines. And the lights are out and away they go. Looks like a pretty good start from the majority of the grid. Looks like Alex has gotten away cleanly. There's been a lot of position shuffling as there's going 4 wide almost towards the back of the field. It looks like no major incidents to speak of yet. A little bit of a wheel spin there for Swifty down there in 11th place at the moment. He's falling off like a stone after that horrible, horrible exit. But no real major incidents to speak of. There's just a lot of jostling for position at the moment.
Alex Bitto, Shenjay, Brainstew, your front 3 drivers right now coming down into that downhill 10th turn they're going. Alex Bitto right now. Taking a lot of that outside curb through there,
The yellow
Shenjay.
flag, it's Swifty.
Oh no, the Red Bull.
Around turn 8. So he's now 7 seconds behind the rest of the field as Black Sheep will get a warning, the 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. So that isn't what he was looking for. But no real position changes for the top 6 at the moment, but the 2 Haas drivers of Astrad and Hennes up 3 and 4 places respectively, and Remco Van Putten is up 5 into 9th place for the Renault squad. So good starts for them. Unfortunate for the 2 Red Bulls, who haven't had the best start, as well as Yoda and Nigel both falling 4 places as well.
Mattia Binotto in the Williams right now in 15th. He's on the softs. Rackety ahead of him on the medium compound tires. Moving up to the inside, down the pit straight is the Williams into turn 1. He's out in front of that McLaren. Very tight racing between the 2 of them as they come through wheel to wheel. Turn 2 and 3. Sticking with one another quite well there. In a very tight battle for position as they come up into turn 4. You can see there Rackety out in front still. The Williams unable to make the move just yet, but out on the inside is the Williams. And into 14th, Mattia Binotto goes. Very nicely done, as Freeware and Remco Van Putten seem to have had an exchange. Yoda is there wheel-to-wheel with Freeware down into turn 8. Who's going to have the better exit? That is the McLaren on the inside into turn 10.
Just the view from Neon Rays behind them in 12th place is absolutely unbelievable. These 2 are going side by side everywhere, and Neon Rays just trying to find any sort of way to get in on this action, trying to make his way further up the field after the decent start that he had there in the Mercedes.
Very nice racing from all of these drivers as Neon Race has a little bit of a lockup there. It looked like Nigel may have almost gone into his rear. Yoda is starting to pull away.
Trubar seems to have had a bit of an off around turn 12 and 13.
Missing that front right end plate.
Yeah, I don't know if he touched that dreaded inside curbing at turn 12, but that is damage on the pink Mercedes, so he'll definitely have to pit and get that replaced, as DRS has now been enabled, and all these drivers, aside from a couple, are all within that DRS range.
Nigel, Neon Rays wheel-to-wheel here through turns 1 through 3, and you can see Nigel struggling there with the Williams behind him. That's Mattia Binotto looking at him. Is he going to make a move? He does down the inside. It's a big dive. He gets the car under control. No contact was made, but it cost him big as Neon Rays narrowly avoided that.
Wow, that was a hell of a dive from the Williams. Great job from all. No.
Speaking of dives, Rackety on the inside into turn 8. He's on the outside, or excuse me, on the rear of Nigel. Not able to get the move though.
They made their way down to the turns 9 and 10. Already seeing a couple lockups into that corner. Very, very hard braking zone to get right. But this massive train, I don't think there's going to be anyone who's really going to be able to capitalize off the DRS. Hennes seems to have fallen off the back of his teammate slightly. There's a spin. That's a Williams. That's Mattia Binotto having a spin out of turn 12, and he's lost a massive chunk of that wing. And there's a virtual safety car as Zamas has also spun at the exit of 13.
Oh dear, not where these drivers want to spin at all. That turn 12-13 section catching quite a few of these drivers out, and it's only going to get worse as tire degradation comes into play as well. And with all of the pace, like from these racers, everything's so tight, so everyone's going to be pushing one another. Everyone's going to be looking to pick up on those little mistakes, and as tire degradation starts to play a role, more risks I think are going to be taken. Or on the flip side, could be less risks, as Remco Van Putten with a fantastic start on the VSC restart gets out ahead of Henners into turn 4. Wow, very quick thinking from the Renault driver there. Yoda, I'm sure, had a fantastic view of that, as he is in 8th for McLaren right now, and he's going to be looking to take some positions as well on this VSC restart. But it is Henners and Remco Van Putten on those mediums. Yoda on the 3-lap old softs, who is caught between a rock and a hard place. He is right in the midst of a midfield fight with a ton of medium compound racers.
I have bad news for all your Ferrari fans out there. Both Ferraris, Alex Bitto and Hyper, have both picked up drive-through penalties for speeding under the virtual safety car.
That's
So
gonna be very
absolute
good news.
heartbreak for the Tifosi.
Heartbreak for the Tifosi, and huge news for Alpha Tauri fans, that's for sure.
Yeah, so Chenjay has been gifted a stroke of luck here as he locks up into the penultimate corner. But Alex will probably have to serve that drive-through fairly soon. Decides to stay out for the time being. Chenjay still within that DRS range, but those two seem to have broken away from the Mercedes of Brainstew in 3rd.
Yoda.
So they're going to have their own little scrap as well.
Yoda makes a very clean move down into turn 1 on Henners. Yoda on that quicker compound tire for the moment, utilizing that DRS on the straight.
Let's see if Henners is able to do
There
anything.
has been another off. That's Fubar Mikkow. He has had another issue coming outside of turn 12. He is on the inside of that turn as he has spun the car around to get things going. Hats off to Mr. Fubar for not resetting to circuit. That's what we like to see, as it is against our rules at the moment. Freeware very close to the rear of that Haas Henners. It looks like Henry is starting to struggle on those medium compound tires already, as he's been passed by Yoda. But we'll have to see if that is the case for Freeware as well. Freeware, of course, looking quite quick throughout the league races we've seen him perform, and yet that pace hasn't yet translated over into race results here for MRL. It is only race 2, of course, but he's currently running in 9th on mediums, so we could have a solid result from him in the Alpha Tauri. His teammate doing very good in 2nd at the moment.
It looks like Alex Bitto is coming into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty, so Chenjay now inherits that race lead on lap 6 of this GP. Freeware makes it a very easy pass with the DRS on the Haas of Henry, as Freeware pulling aside, letting all of the cars through as he's already a lap down. So it's a horrible start for the German in that pink Mercedes. Just isn't able to keep that car under control at the moment.
Meanwhile, there's some wheel-to-wheel battling unfolding here at the front of the grid right now, Mikkow. That was Astrade and Remco Van Putten having a wheel-to-wheel exchange in turn 4. Now they are once again close, coming through in turn 8. The Renault on those medium compound tires looks to have made it past Astrade for the time being.
Yeah, it's around the stage where those soft tires aren't going to be feeling great. They aren't totally dead as of yet, but the mediums will certainly be faster at this stage of the race, as Fraser will also pick up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings.
Lutra on the inside of Black Sheep coming down into turn 11. In the racing point, he gets the move done, and he's out in front of the Alfa Romeo for now.
Oh no, but he's lost it! Lutra in the other racing point spins around at turn 12. Almost spinning around again, trying to get that car under control, but it's absolute heartbreak for Pink Panthers at the moment. One's a lap down and another one's just spun and lost his wing. Looks like Hyper is into the pits as well to serve his drive-through. So both the Ferraris having a miserable start to this race after such a strong quality performance, especially for the Spaniard Alex Bitto.
Astrade dropping back behind Remco Van Putten now. Remco Van Putten looking quite quick on those mediums. Henner's in 7th position. Neon Rays towering down on him, as it is a 6, 7, 8 for medium runners right now, and 9 if you include Rackety in that exchange. It's Alex Bitto, who is on those 6-lap-old soft compound tires now, who has dropped into 10th position as a result of that drive-through penalty. And that is going to be very bad news for him, as he is going to have to pit again for new tires, which could potentially drop him as far as 18th position, Mikcow.
Yeah, well, these soft tires seem to still be holding up a little bit. Pace has dropped off slightly, but there's still some decent lap times coming in from the soft runners, so they might be trying to stretch their tires to do that one stop onto the hard compound. So we'll wait and see. They still have to stretch those tires a little further if they want to be safe about those hards making it to the end. As Astrodite will bite the bullet, he comes into the pits to try to get off those soft compound tires. As there's an exchange between Neon Rays and Henry. Neon Rays up into 6th place for the Mercedes.
Henry's isn't finished from Neon Rays. Now, these two drivers were teammates for a time last season over at Williams, and now we're seeing them battle here under different flags.
They're side by side heading into turn 5. Looks like Henry has decided to back out of that move. Wasn't confident of keeping that car in a straight line through that sequence of corners. So Neon Rays has solidified his position up into P6, but tops it all off with a massive lockup heading into turn 10.
Here's one thing too, Black Sheep onto the fresh hards. You see him in 10th position. He is under threat right now from the Renault that is Fraser on the medium compounds. Coming out of turn 10, DRS overtake in full swing. Up the inside, Black Sheep looks to defend, but it's just not enough because that Renault looking so quick into turn 11. You can see now Black Sheep, good traction. Fraser goes wide. Is he going to get the switchback done because of the mistake into turn 12? Fraser doing good to keep that car off the curb. Big lockup, though, through 13 from the Renault, and Black Sheep has unfortunately been able to get back onto the rear of that Renault here. Fraser into 10th.
Yeah, but you can't forget that Mercedes of Brain Stew behind them on those fresh medium compound tires after his first pit stop. He's definitely going to have some pace, qualifying very high up the grid, setting a purple sector 3 at the same time. So Black Sheep going semi-defensive. Looks like Brain Stew will pick off the Alfa Romeo and now has the Renault in his sights.
That he does. Mikcow, DRS and overtake wide open for him, as Fraser had on Black Sheep a few moments ago. Fraser taking that optimal racing line through turn 4. Brain Stew struggling a little bit in that Mercedes, it would seem, but of course turn 10 is a whole different story because Brain Stew gonna have another DRS opportunity into turn 11 through that sector 2 straight, and that could be what he needs to get ahead of this Renault. Of course, the tire difference is not that monumental. The pace difference still comes into serious question, and right now Fraser's looking very quick in 10th position.
Yeah, it's only 2 laps of age between Fraser and Brain Stew. I'm just keeping an eye as well on this train here for the for P5 at the moment, or P4 I should say, as Yoda has fallen a little bit off the back of Remco Van Putten, but still isn't able to shake this AlphaTauri of freeware behind, as his teammate is currently leading the race some 2 seconds ahead of the Williams of S-King.
Freeware right now on these 9-lap-old mediums is showing so much pace in that Honda-powered AlphaTauri compared to that McLaren ahead on the softs. It is, I think, time, Mikcow, that those softs need to go. Yeah,
as a little bit further down the grid, Rackety and Henry side by side in this battle for P7. Neon Ray is just ahead of them in P6. A little bit of contact there between the two, but Rackety is able to hold on to that 7th position.
Now Alex Bitto has made the call. Mikcow into the pit lane he goes, and he's going on to fresh hard compound tires here, so he's now going to have to fight out of that position in 15th all the way to lead of this race once again where he began before he took that unfortunate drive-through penalty. And we can see there is a multitude of penalties that have been handed down here throughout this race, as Freeware is still within half a second of position 4. That is Yoda in the McLaren ahead.
Yeah, making their way through turns 11 and 12. You just have to be very careful to keep that car as stable as you can. Try not to lose the rear end through the dirty air, or even understeer through the dirty air and, you know, go off track and lose some speed there. But Freeware doing a very nice job to stay on the back of Yoda, as it looks like Yoda will actually be diving into the pits to get off those soft compound tires. So now, in essence, he has released both Freeware and Neon Rays and Rackety to chase down the second place driver of Van Putten in the Renault.
Yeah, and Van Putten, the front runner of all of those long medium runners now you see on the timing tower, of course.
There's a tussle going on at the moment for P7, as Fraser and Brainstew going side by side through turns 1 through 3. Looks like Brainstew has finally gotten ahead of that Renault, but if Fraser has anything to say about it, he won't be done fighting that position just yet.
You can see now King coming down through 10 there, struggling for grip on those older soft compound tires. Everybody is off the older softs now. Everybody onto either the medium or the hard compound tire or fresher soft compound rubber. But of course, King now, the question is he going to pit off those softs now? I think the answer is going to be yes. Fraser within DRS still of Brainstew. Hopefully going to be able to catch things back up. But another thing to keep note of is Black Sheep in 9th position right now, under threat from our former race leader, that is Shenjie, who is in 10th at the moment on the fresh hards.
Now, SK probably should pit, and he does make his way into the pit lane. Doing well to stay under that speed limit. Now, let's see. Has Black Sheep held up Shenjie enough that the overcut will work for the Williams? It's a tough ask. It doesn't look to be the case, but it certainly will be close between those two come the exit of the pit lane. Shenjie now getting past the Alfa Romeo, and S-King is now some 5 seconds behind the race, or the theoretical race leader. So he's definitely got some ground to make up, but Shenjie looking in a very good spot as Aphrodite dives up the inside of the Alpha Tauri into turn 4 on those fresh or fresh-ish soft compound tires. So he's now up into 6th place for the Haas squad.
Yeah, Aphrodite with a beautiful view of Shenjie from the rear, of course. Shenjie in 7th position on that fresher rubber, going to be looking to hunt down that Haas, and I am sure it will be only a matter of time. Of course, Alex Bitto on the hards, looking at Henners now in 12th. He's going to want to make as many positions up as he can throughout this field. King, of course, was your 3rd place finisher last week in Australia, and now he's looking to have another solid race here in that, or excuse me, I'm talking about Alex Bitto. Of course, Alex Bitto was your 3rd place pole sitter last week. He gets the move down on Henners into turn 11, but Henners isn't finished with him. He's going to make a move to switch back through turn 12. Beautiful side-by-side racing into 13 here. That's Alex Bitto on the inside, and he has spun. As Henry being very, very, very tough on Alex there, I think, in the hard racing sense of the word. That's just hard racing through 13 from our seat. But that's Alex, who we just thought wanted to charge through this traffic, now having to charge through even more traffic here.
Yeah, I guess the good thing is that he can make it to the end on those tires theoretically, but still only doing 1 lap before having that incident with the Haas driver isn't great. So he's now down in 16th place, certainly not where he wants to be. But looks like just a bit further up the field with Shenjie, seems to be sticking with Aphrodite fairly well, still within that DRS range, so definitely helping his race just to get a little bit more speed on those straights.
One thing with
straights,
Shenjie,
you don't get DRS to the corners.
that 1 lap old hard set versus the 4 lap old soft set. I think that 4 lap old soft set right now, Mikkow is going to be a little quicker on the pace, which just shows Shenjay's true pace. You know, he's on the hards and he's maintaining within a second of someone on the softs, which is, you know, 2 grades of tire below. So, doing good in that Alpha Tauri for sure.
And Shenjay, certainly one of the faster drivers in this grid, as the top 3 all decide to pit at the same time to get off those worn mediums, put on a fresh set of hards. I'm interested to see where they come out. I think it will be around
King on the
7th,
outside
8th.
of Black Sheep. Excuse me, Mikkow down on the pit straight. Very easy move done there from
We have a
him.
safety car.
Oh, wow. That is going to shake things up. And where did it happen? That is the question.
It's Mattia Bonotto at turn 12, between turns 12 and 13. I saw it on the map. He just sort of spun around into the left-hand side, runoff area, and just had a massive tap. Well, not really a tap, but a massive collision with the wall. And we have our first safety car.
Wow. Absolutely wild. Now, with this safety car, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who's watching right now. I hope you guys are enjoying the race. Of course, if you are, I would greatly appreciate it. And all of us here, Mikkow, myself, the MRL, we would greatly appreciate it. You could hit that follow button. Because we do this every Thursday, 2 races, Tier 2 followed by Tier 1. And the racing action has been absolutely wild, starting off last week in Australia. And we have 22 races on this season's calendar. And this is only round 2 of all of the racing action yet to come. So thank you all for your continued support. Very happy to see you all in the chat. And of course, on this safety car, we have a little bit of cooldown time after all that very, very intense action. We are almost halfway through this race for Tier 1. And it's been great so far.
Yeah, we're just crossing the halfway point now. I do believe those top 3 will all be coming into the pit, so Shenjay will regain the lead of this race. But he's got that Williams of S-King behind him. Going to close right back up because of the safety car and the safety car queue. So, yeah, this race has certainly been flipped on its head. Now, all these drivers that are pitting now are opting to go on a fresh set of mediums. Now, 13 laps on the mediums isn't unheard of. We've certainly seen them go further.
Well, lap 17. I think that we're going to see the safety car come in at the end of lap. I'd like to see it come in at the end of lap 16. I don't think we're going to see it come in this lap, that's for sure. But is it possible that it can go to 17? Because if it does, hypothetically, if it does, those mediums could be good to go to the end.
It certainly is a risk worth taking. If you get the strategy right, it certainly help you out a lot, as Fraser has received a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Henry on the run down to turn 8, so not quite sure what happened there. Fraser's also lost a spot to Astrodite in the meantime. Looks like the queue's starting to form up. I think we will see the safety car in at the end of next lap, Strif, just judging where Lutra is on the track as he makes his way through turn 4 at the moment.
Now Fubar is caught up inside of what's going on right now in this safety car queue, as he is a currently lapped driver. I don't believe he has the ability to unlap himself in this. So, very unfortunate for him, as he's going to get caught up inside the grid like that.
Many have tried, and many have been disqualified as a result. So it's probably better for Fubar just to wait it out. Anything can happen in the race.
Remco Van Putten, all at striking distance here. Mikkow, 0 lap old hards.
I mean, after 2 laps, those hards won't have as much of a pace disadvantage compared to the fresh hards. But I think what will be a really telling sign for all these drivers is how well they are able to get heat into those tires.
Yep. Heat up the hards, of course, takes a little bit more than you'd see from the softs.
and the mediums for that fact as well. So these drivers on the mediums will certainly have a massive pace advantage off the restart. So I'm very interested to see how the likes of Brainstew, Astrodite, as well as, you know, Black Sheep, Nigel, Alex, and all those other medium tire runners do off the restart. But just like in Australia's drift, the race has been completely neutralized.
It has.
Whatever happened before, it doesn't matter now. Everyone can go to the end of the race on the current set of tires they have.
Exception of
just
Black
over
Sheep,
halfway.
I think. On the 15 lap old hard or mediums, it may be that pit glitch because if it was, he pitted last lap round, did he not? I thought he had pitted with everybody else.
He pitted on the safety car. He started on those hards, remember? He was the only driver to start on that hard compound series. Now swapped off to the mediums. He's done quite well for himself, actually. Made up 7 places from his starting grid position. So, great stroke of, I would say strategy, but it's more down to luck with the safety car.
There it is.
As it is coming at the end of this lap, so we'll be racing once again.
Yeah.
Once all these drivers cross the timing line.
NJ now, the pseudo safety car, slowing down the grid, pacing the grid as consistently as he can. And then it is up to him when he goes, and he is off, and it looks like he may have caught the grid off guard. King now only just getting up to speed down into these 2 turns. Shenjay with a great start here. Ooh, but it might have just cost him a little bit of oversteer coming out of the turn. And that great start that he had may have been for nothing, as King, with a great run behind that AlphaTauri down into turn 1, could potentially take an overtake, but he jumps back behind that AlphaTauri. That is the Renault of Van Putten up the inside of the Williams into turn 1. He is wheel to wheel with King through 2, now up through 3, and he is into second position, but it is King back on the inside. He's looking at Van Putten. He's saying, no way you take that position, but it is going to be so for now. But Van Putten, big lock up there from the Renault as King looking to retake that position on this restart. Yoda having a fantastic view of all of this action as well. What a race restart for the Renault, and the Williams is going to be pissed off about that, dare I say, as Yoda is not going to give them any opportunity to breathe either. Freeware looking at the McLaren down into turn 10. We have an absolute train, but that is Brainstew on the inside of Freeware into turn 10, and he gets the move done into 5th. Beautifully done. I don't even think Freeware saw him coming.
Certainly caught him off guard. That's not really the most common overtaking spot on this track. We can just see the amount of grip in those fresh mediums is just far superior to all those guys on the hards. Yeah, Brainstew now into 5th place, and he's already within 3/10 of Yoda in front of him. Going to be using that overtake mode, trying to get as close as he can to that McLaren in front. As Chenjay, our race leader, has a massive lockup into the penultimate corner. Certainly will cost him some time.
Sneaks ahead of Henners into the final points position on the grid. Into 10th position it goes the Alfa Romeo, and that's Henners coming into the pits.
He might have had some kind of issue. I didn't see anything on my
Yoda
end.
wheel to wheel with the Mercedes through turn 2, coming up to turn 3. That's Brainstew in 4th position. Yoda in 5th, and Brainstew on a charge here on those 2-lap-old mediums now. That is King, his next target, in 3rd. King, Remco Van Putten, and Shenjay all on the hard compound tires. They have got to be worried about this Mercedes because he is burning it here on the restart. Lap 18, he is into 4th, and he is not done, dare I say, Mikcow.
Like I was just saying the lap prior, just those mediums seem to really be working right now on the Mercedes. Just right in that optimal temperature window. And of course the softer compound, just providing so much more grip and more traction out of those heavy traction zones. He's already within 3/10 of Brainstew as well. He's already broken DRS off the McLaren behind. Goes for a very aggressive dive into turn 13. That's not going to work out for him. S-King holding on to that final podium place for the time being. The DRS will be enabled this next lap as the race leader Shenjay Now making his way to start lap 19, so 11 laps to go in this race. And oh my goodness, this is a crazy race as Swifty makes a move on Hyper down the main straight down for into 14th place.
Brainstew, he looked at King and wasn't enough of a gap there to make a move, but of course DRS down into turn 4, perhaps enough to catch back up as that exchange of positions happening with Rackety.
Rackety now straight wheel to wheel as they make their way into turn 4. There's a little bit of banging there at the turn 3, but it looks like it will be the Haas up into 8th place. So a great move from Astro right there. And now he's got Neon Rays in his sights.
Very good job from the Haas as well. Haas having a good day today. Brainstew for Mercedes, looking to make it a good day for the Mercedes squad too, as Jay won Tier 2 today. Now Brainstew looking for a podium as well. King is going to struggle against these mediums right now, and through turn 11, 12 we go. A lot of traction on those mids coming up through 12.
Yeah, just the amount of mechanical grip those tires are offering him is just incomparable to those in front of him. Chenche again with a massive lockup into that final corner. Or should I say the penultimate corner, since that little right-hand kink is technically turn 15. But nevertheless, Remco Van Putten still within that DRS range, and Brainstew still hunting down this Williams. Is he going to be able to get the move done up the hill into turn 4? He's very low on battery, so I don't think he's able to do anything just yet unless Esking makes a mistake. But the pressure is certainly mounting for the Williams driver.
Yeah, as Freeware still very tight to the rear of that McLaren. Yoda in 5th. Things are very tight all over the grid as Alex Bitto is now into 10th position on the medium compound tires. Mikcow less than half a second separating him and Rackety. The Ferrari looking very hungry right now into turn 10 on the outside. Around the outside.
Oh, the switchback. He goes for the switchback move. He's going to have DRS. Overtake mode is engaged. Using everything that battery has left to give him. Up the inside into turn 11, but Rackety getting a better exit. The Ferrari, though, is able to stay in front for the time being as they make their way through turns 12 and 13.
Nicely done from Alex there in the Ferrari, for sure. As we look for another gap, and that's Lutra on the inside of Black Sheep down into the right hander. A little bit of a wheel bang there. DRS now for the Racing Point and the Alfa Romeo ahead on the McLaren is Black Sheep looking to catch up ahead.
It's Nigel. Here comes Nigel. Trying to close it to his teammate. Trying to go hold it around the outside of the Racing Point. He'll have the inside for turn 2. There's a little bit of contact. Lutra starts to lose the car a little bit. Nigel has to back out of the move to avoid getting collected by the Racing Point. But the position seems stable for the moment up there. As back on with Brainstew in 4th place, isn't really getting enough pace to make that pass for that final podium place at the moment.
No, and we have 8 laps to go, not counting our present one, as Neon Ray is currently in 7th position, looking to catch up with Yoda and Freeware. And unfortunately I missed it, but Freeware has now made it ahead of Yoda into 5th position there. Doing good to catch up to his teammate, who is leading this race by less than half a second, as Van Putten on the fresher rubber perhaps starting to put a dent.
Second time penalty, that's huge.
That is huge.
For the Williams. So at this stage, he'll be dropping all the way back to, I think that's 6th, maybe even 7th. But the grid's so tightly packed, that is a massive penalty. Certainly not what the Williams fans are going to be hoping for.
No, definitely not. With one driver out of this race, that's Mattia Binotto in 20th position there. Terminal damage taking him out of the equation. And now we have, well, Lutra, or excuse me, S-King in 3rd position with that 3-second time penalty. It's going to give them some points, but it's not going to give them that podium point amount that we would have liked to see for Williams.
Oh, Astrodite trying to hold it around the outside. We'll get a time penalty for exceeding the track limits. So that's certainly something that he's not going to be too happy about. But Neon Ray's doing well to defend that position for the time being. And all that fighting has allowed Alex in the Ferrari to make his way all the way up to the rear of that Haas. And we know how speedy the Ferrari is around here. So interested to see what the Spaniard can do with the few laps remaining.
Ooh, and there's a retirement. It's Henners into the pit lane. You hate to see that after 22 laps. The Haas out of the equation here in this one. Firing at the end of lap 21, I believe.
Lutra also picking up a 3-second time penalty in his fight with Rackety. Rackety has gotten past, but that racing point is very, very slippery in a straight line. He looks to the inside as Henry's AI car comes back onto the circuit. Doesn't seem to be impeding anyone too heavily. But it certainly is a large inconvenience, to say the least.
Time's starting to get closer and closer now as we approach the final end of this race. Brains 2.
Don't scare me like that, please.
Less than half a second from
Oh no, it's Hyper.
Ooh, Hyper has retired outside of turn 4. And what's going to come of that situation?
A virtual safety car, Striff, that's your answer. So all these drivers having to slow down, and I hope and pray, I'm gonna say it, I hope and pray that no one gets a drive-through penalty at this stage of the race, because that would be catastrophic.
Yes, it definitely would. As the VSC is so prone to bring out drive-through penalties. Everybody needing to keep things super clean.
Yeah, even a 1 millisecond over that delta when this VSC ends, and you will be heading straight for the pit lane or the steward's room.
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
Oh no!
Come back in, and Fubar has taken that dreaded speeding under VSC penalty as Alex Bitto with a run on Astrodate down into turn 1. Yoda and Freeware exchanging as well. What a massive amount of action we're going to see here on this VSC restart. But Alex Bitto gets out ahead of Astrodate, and now Brainstew has made the move on King into 3rd position. So that is King now with a 3-second time penalty dropped into 4th position. Brainstew doing a good job from Mercedes right now, getting into 3rd, and he's on those medium compound tires, Mikcow, to the end of this race. Shenjay, 12-lap-old hards right now, and Remco Van Putten on the 9-lap-old harder compound tires, as Neon Rays and Alex Bitto have an exchange. That is Neon Rays into 8th position, and it looks like Alex Bitto is into 7th, and now Yoda is now the next target of that Ferrari.
Just going up to the battle for the lead at the moment, it's very, very important that the Renault of Van Putten keeps within that 1 second gap, because once he loses DRS, dare I say it, Shenjay will basically win this race aside from any final lap mistakes. But it's not looking hopeful for the Renault. He's now just outside of that 1 second gap with only 10% battery left. Has a little bit of a lockup heading into the penultimate corner. But it doesn't look like he has DRS, so that is bad news for the Renault squad. Brainstew now using that DRS and Slipstream to catch right back up to that Renault. And he'll be on the attack heading towards turn 4. He has that overtake mode engaged. The DRS is wide open, but he just can't get close enough on this occasion.
And I think that's exactly it, Mikcow. It's this occasion. He's going to have a couple of other opportunities here before the end of this race, and if those mediums can get him there, it's going to be very important that he makes these moves while he has the pace in those tires to attack. Because as soon as I think those tires cross over that 11-12 lap mark, they're going to fall off significantly. And it's going to be very hard to make any kind of aggressive overtaking moves.
Yeah, Remco Van Putten still just outside that 1 second range. He really needs that DRS if he wants to hold on to this second place. As Fraser will pick up another time penalty down in 16th. He seems to have had an incident and pitted for a fresh set of soft compound tires. There are battles happening all over the grid at the moment. Alex Bitto, the Ferrari on a mission to correct the wrongs that he experienced at the beginning of this race, is right on the back of that AlphaTauri in front of him. As that overtake mode engaged, the DRS open as Brainstew is now making a pass on the Renault for P2 in this race as well at the same time. But Freeware and Alex are still side by side into the braking zone. Alex goes very, very aggressively down the inside, but he will make that move stick. As looks like Fubar has had another spin at turn 12 as well.
Brainstew and Remco Van Putten having an exchange outside of turn 4 there. We briefly saw Brainstew move ahead of the Renault, but he is still in third for the time being. Fraser setting a 127.443. He is in P16, however. So in order for that point to count, he needs to be in that top 10, but it is Brainstew wheel to wheel with Remco Van Putten down into turn 10. Remco Van Putten pulls off for a better entry and exit, perhaps. Is he going to have it, though? It is going to be Brainstew with the DRS, but Remco Van Putten with the overtake, switching off to the inside. Coming into turn 11 now, that is the Renault on the rear of the Mercedes, and it is not enough for Remco Van Putten right now to get back ahead of the Mercedes, and that is Brainstew into second position here in this race.
And all this fighting between these two has brought S-King right back into the fray. You can see Brainstew aggressively weaving, trying to break that slipstream for the Renault behind, but it just isn't enough at the moment. As Van Putten has a little bit of an oversteer moment. Off the final corner, Brainstew has made his one defensive move, holding that inside line. Which way is he gonna go? But he goes super, super deep. That's a mistake from the Mercedes. And I think that was a Renault M plate as well. So a little bit of contact between those two, but there isn't even an inch between these two at the moment. As S-King, with that overtaking DRS, is going to make it 3 wide into turn 4. What amazing racing. What hard fighting between these guys.
Hard fighting is what we're seeing right here. Hard fighting. And you can see King right now just looking for an opportunity to get back onto that podium pedestal.
Alex right behind them makes a really nice dive on Yoda, so he's now up into P5 with 2.5 laps left in this race. Alex could be on the podium.
Alex has absolutely deadly pace with 3 laps to go here. Well, 2.5 really, given where they're at currently. But King now wheel to wheel into turn 11 on the outside of the Renault. Is he able to get it around enough? He is not. Remco Van Putten sticking it in third. Oh my, and Alex Bitto doing such a great job of sticking it out into 4th position. They're getting out ahead of King throughout turn 12. What a move. And now it is Remco Van Putten's turn, and we've seen these rivals come together before on circuit. Remco Van Putten with such a tight defense, but that is Alex Bitto into the braking out in front of the Renault now. Entering lap 28 is the Ferrari. And what beautiful, beautiful racing we have had, but Blah isn't finished with him. Remco Van Putten up in third. Oh my, what tight racing we're having right now, and you can see all of the cars behind them. It is an absolute drag race to the end for all of these drivers into turn 1 right now. 3 wide through turn 1 into turn 2 now. That is the Ferrari of Alex Bitto out wide. Van Putten sticking with King.
Just a little bit. Yoda right behind them is either loving this or absolutely dreading this. He's seeing 3 cars fight basically into every single corner in front of them, and he just can't find any way to mount an attack at this stage. And he also has to worry about Freeway behind him as well as the Haas
Bitto up the inside of the Renault. It's a big lockup for Remco Van Putten, but he gets it back around, and they're still wheel to wheel coming down into turn 10. Yoda and Remco Van Putten. Now Alex Bitto is into 4th, and he's looking to hunt down the Williams of King. But Remco Van Putten and Yoda coming together now, and Freeware is looking at all of this action in the AlphaTauri coming down into 11, and Aphrodite and Lutra and Neon Rays are all there as well, and it's going to be within a second finish for all of these drivers at the rate we're going right now, and that is Remco Van Putten on the rear of Yoda up through turn 12 right now. with a very fast AlphaTauri on his rear, and Astrodites in the mix as well, and that's Freeware up the inside out of 13. Wow, Freeware looking at Remco Van Putten right now, coming down into the final 2 turns of the penultimate lap as Shenjie now crosses into lap 29. This racing is absolutely incredible on this restart.
Yeah, as we're heading into the final lap of this Bahrain Grand Prix, Remco Van Putten holding that inside line, but it isn't enough. Both Astrolite and Freeware are going to get past. Astrolite goes super, super deep into turn 1. A massive mistake is going to cost him 3 positions almost, as Neon Rays right behind him as well is going to be looking to get a piece of that action. And it's just unbelievable racing. Remco makes a very late move to the inside, goes super deep. Freeware has to brake to avoid, and that's Lutra.
Oh my god, Lutra into 6th. Wow. Wow, and there's still more exchanges happening on circuit right now, and that is Neon Rays, I think, in the Mercedes, who has had an issue coming outside of turn 4. Nigel and Swifty getting out into P11 and 12 respectively, if I'm not mistaken. Rackety is in 10th at the moment, and he is going to be under threat from Nigel soon, but all of this action right now in the midfield. Freeware having struggles in turn 10 right now. Remco Van Putten in 7th, Lutra in 6th, and he's already pulled out a 2nd from the Renault, and this fighting is continuing. That is Remco Van Putten and Freeware still through turn 11 here, fighting and fighting. Turn 12.
3 seconds.
Oh, you hate to see that.
That is gonna hurt. Fighting so hard, but he makes it. He makes it up with a beautiful move around the outside of the Renault. They're still having a drag race towards the line as Chenjo will come across the line to win the Bahrain GP. But I just can't take my eyes off this fight for P7 at the moment. They are wheel to wheel. It's going to be a photo finish between these two and the pass behind them.
Oh, and you can just see the amount of position drop for Freeware there. He finishes 10th once again. That is the 2nd consecutive finish in 10th for Freeware, not having the results he wanted at all. But what a win. It's Shenjie once again coming across the line. First place here in Bahrain. He came across the line last week in Australia first. Unfortunately, penalties put him into 2nd, but he gets it done here once again in Bahrain for the race win. Brainstew for Mercedes in 2nd, so that is now Mercedes with a win in Tier 2 and now a podium in Tier 1. Very nicely done from them, and a Ferrari on the podium. That's Alex Bitto in 3rd. Very, very good race. Very intense race, Mikcow, and I think we got to be happy with that. Interviews coming up shortly as well.
That was absolutely incredible. Remco Van Putten, driver of the day. I don't think I can disagree with that one. He put on an amazing performance. You know, was up there in that podium, fighting place, and just did absolutely everything he could to hold on to his position as well as he could. And he came home with a solid haul of points for that Renault squad. So I can't disagree with the game's choice on that one, Striff.
No. That was a absolutely excellent drive from him. There's the podium finishers there. Shenjie, Brainstew, Alex Bitto are your podium finishers. Shenjie with the win. What a race from all of our racers here in this one. Only one, well, it was almost only one retirement, as Mattia Binotto was the only one for quite some time there. Of course, near the end of the race, Henners and Hyper unable to finish things off. But that is, once again, Shenjie, your race winner. Brainstew in 2nd, Alex Bitto in 3rd, with Yoda in 4th, and King rounding off your top 5. Of course, official classifications will be posted on Twitter pending any steward decisions or penalties. Take a look at the race director now for the sake of those stewarding decisions, as we get into interviews in just a few moments' time with our podium finishers. That was just a fantastic race around Bahrain. Definitely one of the fastest and most intense overtaking circuits, I think, on the calendar. And if anything, our 2 races today, Tier 2, Tier 1, just great, great stuff. As we wait for that session timer to kick down now and get these interviews underway. Just great, great stuff.
I'm stunned. That was absolutely incredible. You know, these 2 opening rounds have been absolutely amazing in both of the grids that we have here. And it makes me excited to see how these drivers handle the technical challenge that is the streets of Hanoi next week for round 3 of MRL Season 3.
Yeah, next week. 3:15 p.m. CDT / 9:15 p.m. BST for your Tier 2 racing action. And then, of course, Tier 1 kicking off at 5:15 p.m. CDT / 11:15 p.m. BST. So we got lots of racing action happening on Thursdays, of course. We have a couple of other great things in the pipeline for all of you to give you more racing content, more racing action. So make sure you hit that follow button if you enjoyed the race, because there's going to be a lot more like them for the next 20 rounds coming up. Of course, next week, like Mikcow has just said, Hanoi for the Vietnam Grand Prix. Now, I don't know if we have anyone available for interviews. I think it's Alex Bitto is available.
We have our race winner Chenjay with us. So Chenjay, congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thanks.
It was a very solid performance from you. Just how did your race go for you? You know, after getting pipped in qualifying by the Ferrari of Alex Bitto, how was your race?
Well, I knew I don't really have the pace at Bahrain, at least not in quali. I knew Bitto was gonna beat me, especially because he's on pad. But my Bahrain pace isn't great, so I was happy with P2. I was happy to hold position on the first few laps behind Alex, and it's a shame he got a drive through, because we could have continued our battle. But I was definitely gonna go for the one-stop strategy the whole race, and it really played. The safety car, I don't know if it really played into my hands, but it was good because it put me back in P1. Although Remco, it was kind of like last year with Remco pressuring me the whole way through until Brainstew passed him. But yeah, it was a pretty boring race after the safety car, besides defending from Remco.
Yeah, I believe you had like a 3-second gap to the Williams of Esking behind you. You know, at the safety car. So definitely neutralized the entire race. But no, congratulations on the win. Well deserved. You
Thanks.
did very well to, you know, stay out of trouble and just run your own race. Others weren't as fortunate as yourself. Strifium, do you have any questions for our race winner today?
Well, first off, congratulations on the race win, Shinjay. You have been very active on the podium these past few days with some of your league racing, so I suppose it just fits in with the rest moving into this race week for you at Bahrain. I know you have a lot of races coming up. Now, the one question I wanted to ask you, you did win Australia last week on circuit, but due to the post-race penalties, you were dropped down to second position. What does it mean for you to immediately bounce back into a race win here in Bahrain?
It feels good. I was very, very close to a penalty again, which would have cost me the race win. There's a couple of times where I went off the track and I lifted in the game, you know, had mercy on me and didn't give me another warning. I had like 2 warnings from like the first stint on softs, so I had to drive really cautiously the whole race to not get a penalty, because I knew most of the people didn't have one. So it feels good to keep it clean and finish first on track and on penalties.
Very good. Alex Bitto, some of the fast drivers that you encountered throughout this race, thoughts on just overall race today, pace. We talked last week a little bit before you took off from the interview on, you know, your competition this season. Who, after 2 rounds now, you know, Zmayo hasn't yet had an opportunity to jump in on the grid, but with who you've been racing with now after 2 rounds, who are your primary threats? Who are you looking at as your competition?
I think primarily Alex. Clearly has the pace. Like, he had the pace over me today. He just made the mistake with the virtual safety car. Alex Remco, he was keeping up with me in the latter parts of the race too. And Brainstew was actually, he had a pretty good strategy, and he was also driving really fast too. So probably just mainly those 3.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Congratulations on the win. We're going to get to our other podium finishers now. And just, you know, good luck in Hanoi, Shenjay. I'm sure a lot of racers are going to need it. It's going to be a very interesting race, having not seen any league racing action on it as of yet, or any F1 action on it as of yet, for that matter. Okay.
So we're now joined by our P2 man in the Mercedes, Brainstew. Really charging through the field there on that safety car restart. Just talk us through that, you know, riding through the field on those fresh mediums. How was that for you, as as a driver?
Yeah, so when the safety car came out, no, I pit for the mediums, and I saw in the race director that everyone was on arts. So I thought, damn, I can do this. I can I can get on the podium. I pushed every lap, and yeah, I made it. I made it.
Very good.
Yeah, you certainly put on an amazing show for us, on the stream and us in the commentary booth. No, unfortunate, to just be slightly off the pace in qualifying. It was so tight in that qualifying session.
Yeah,
But what? Sorry.
I
What
ma-
was your just
yeah,
before we get to qualifying? What made your decision to go on another set of mediums? Like, did you know that the guys in front of you were going to pit on hards beforehand, or was that just sort of I can make these tires last to the end of the race? I'm going to go on the mediums.
No, yeah, for the race I opted for the medium soft strategy. So I had already pitted for the mediums. So there were like 15 laps to go. So I thought I can finish the race on the mediums, on the new mediums.
Very
So
good.
yeah.
Striff, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Brainster about the race?
No questions. Just want to say, Brainstew, congratulations. Podium for you. Podium for Mercedes. It was a win for
Thank you very much.
Mercedes in Tier 2. So it's been a good day for the German, well, the silver, or I guess you could say black arrows now. So
Good points
congratulations to the
for
team.
Mercedes today.
Yeah, very good drive from you as well. So thank you for
Thank you
taking the
very
time
much.
to join us. As we get our next and final podium finisher in to have a little bit of a chat, Alex Bitto joining us now. Mikcow, take us away with some wonderful, questions for Mr. Alex. Alex, good to see you, my friend.
Hello.
Yeah, Alex. First, I want to say congrats on your pole position. That was a hell of a lap in a very, very tight grid. But unfortunate with that virtual safety car. Like, what happened there? Did you just lose track of the delta, or just talk us through your thought process through that time and your recovery drive to the final podium place?
Well, yeah, I had a normal start. Like in Australia was like awesome, but this time just was normal to have the first position at the final of first lap. So I think it was a great start overall. But yes, there was a VSC, and I was like 4/10 in green delta. So the game said it was like green flag. So I started to put the finger on the throttle. So it was a point where the delta was red in a moment. So it was like 0.003 or something like that, and then I got a drive through. After all, and the safety car helped me a lot because I had the opportunity to change to mediums and then go to the end of the race. So yeah, it was like difficult because at the end Remco was defending so harsh, like in the train. But I managed well to get the third slot of the podium because I had no penalties.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic recovery drive from yourself after that very unfortunate drive-through penalty. Just talk us through, those moves that you were making towards the end of the race. There was so much fighting for that final, final couple of podium places. Just how was that for you?
Yes,
Just fighting so hard.
the only thing I didn't want was a damage from wing. So because when you have damage from wing, you can no longer overtake. So I was looking for gaps cleared open, like in the hairpin before turn 10 in some cars, because I had medium, so I was faster in the SS. And then, well, that was like a crazy final of the race because we had the pace, but the mediums reached the cliff like two laps before the end.
Well, a great recovery from yourself and getting points on the board for the Scuderia. Definitely righted the woes that they experienced at the end of the virtual safety car, of course, with yourself and your teammate. I promise this is the final time I bring it up with yourself and your teammate getting that drive through. So well done, well deserved podium.
Thanks.
And how are you feeling? Final one from me before I hand off to Striff. How are you feeling for next week around Vietnam? Of course, a new circuit, very technical circuit, and one that you know has very little margin for error. So how are you feeling about next week at the moment?
I feel like great, probably a little bit scared because that walls is like a little bit claustrophobic to navigate around there. So I'm looking great because today I had the pace to win, but yeah, the luck it wasn't in my side.
Well, that's all from me. Strifium, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Alex Bitter this evening?
Alex, congratulations on the podium. And, well, I just want to ask a similar question to what I had just recently asked Shenjay. How are you feeling with the grid this season and your competition, those of your rivals? You know, I know you come together on circuit a lot in battles with Van Putten, Shenjay. You had a blistering start in Australia last week off the line from second row. You split the front row off the start. You know, with performances like that, key moves like that, how do you think you're going to finish here in this season?
Probably I'm looking for a top 3 finish. Obviously Change has the pace to win this season if Smajo doesn't appear here. So yes, probably in terms of pace I'm behind Change, but probably ahead of everyone.
Ahead of everyone, okay. Strong circuits, weak circuits, not gonna divulge. Just gonna try and keep things under the hood. Don't give anybody any insight into what you're doing, or do you have certain circuits that you're looking, you know, that you're avoiding? Of course, Hanoi next week, a circuit that not everyone's too particularly fond of. How are you shaping up for Hanoi compared to the rest of the season?
Just because people does not like the Vietnam circuit makes me want to race there because if they are scared, I can take profit of them. So Bahrain was a great circuit for me. I was doing time trials, so I had like top 20, but I think it was one of my best. But I'm probably scared of Monza because I didn't. I don't know. I don't have the pace right.
Okay, well, Monza a long way away. Good chunk of season yet before we jump into that race. But of course, Vietnam next week. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. What a great race from you today. Now,
So that is all the interviews. Striff, any last thoughts before we start to wrap things up?
just a great race overall. I couldn't be more happy with the turnout as far as overtakes, and we even had a safety car. We had a bunch of things to make that race very dynamic, and it was very entertaining. So I can't wait to see what we're going to experience next week for Vietnam.
Yeah, as am I. And even just looking further ahead in the season, after Vietnam, we're gonna have circuits like Shanghai, and then after that, we're gonna have our first race around Zandvoort,
That's
to
right.
kick off the European season. So
That's
I'm
exactly it.
looking forward to that one, and I hope everyone in the Twitch chat is as well. Yeah, of course, like we said earlier in the stream, we do this every week, starting with Tier 2 and Tier 1. And don't forget to tune in on Saturday for the next round in the 100% Endurance series, this time around the iconic Silverstone circuit.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the racing action, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more great racing. Of course, you can check us out on Twitch. Every Thursday we have Racing Then, and we're going to have a lot more coming to you soon. Twitter, where you can find all of our updates, and Discord if you're interested in becoming a part of the Misfits community. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.